Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. I first saw this game at E3 2013, and initially I was not interested in that game when it was first announced because the original Plants vs. Zombie game is a puzzle game, and I'm not the biggest fan of puzzle games. So, when I first saw gameplay of Garden Warfare, wow, it looked like a hell of a lot of fun to play. It basically, what it looked like to me was they took all the plants and all the zombies and just basically made a Call of Duty Battlefield type game. And to be fair, that's pretty much what Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare is. It's basically, you're either on the zombie team or you're on the plant team, and it's basically like Battlefield, just without the vehicles. The maps are huge, the maps are colorful, a lot of them are well designed. There's a lot of different zombie types you can pick from. There's a lot of different plant types you can pick from. There is so much customization in the game. It's freaking crazy. There's a lot of content in this game that you wouldn't think would be in a game like this. Like well, you can dress up the different plants and the zombies in all these different weird accessories. And when it got released on the PS4, I think there was a Chester Cheeto costume that you could put on the plants and the zombies. Stuff like that is really cool in my opinion, when they add little things like that. Not to mention, you unlock all this stuff by buying these card packs. Kind of like booster packs from like the Yu-Gi-Oh games and the Pokemon games. And you get either little mini plants and zombies you can use in different game types, and you get customization items as well. And yes, there's microtransactions in the game, but you get enough tokens when you play the game that you don't need to spend an additional dime on anything in this game. Just throwing that out there, because I know people hate microtransactions. But, yeah, this game is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, really relaxing. It's not a real serious online game. It's not a game where you have to win at all costs. And if you don't win, then you don't get all these rewards. You get rewarded even if your team doesn't win. Which I actually kind of like, because to me, not every single online multiplayer game has to be super serious. You can have the super serious games. You can also have the relaxing games as well. And actually, one thing that's really shocking to me about this game is that it was released on the 360, the PS3, the PS4, and the Xbox One. It came out on the Xbox platforms first. Oh, it's also on the PC as well. But there's not a Wii U release. And if there is ever a game, to me, that is perfect for the Wii U, it would be this game. Because it would be like the kid version of Call of Duty and Battlefield. Because there's no blood in this game. There's no extreme violence in this game. But it still plays like the Call of Duties and Battlefields. So this would have been perfect for kids to play on the Wii U. But you know how Nintendo is with third parties, so it is what it is. It's a shame, because this would have really done well on the Wii U, in my opinion. But, yeah, there's not much else to say about this. It's a lot of fun, especially if you play it with your friends. And this was also free for a weekend on the PS4, so hopefully at least some of you got a chance to try out this game at least. And I hope you liked it. If you haven't played this game yet, I would definitely recommend you picking it up if you see it for a cheap price, especially if you love Call of Duties and Battlefields, because I think you'll really enjoy this game. Watch Dogs. I can already see some controversy right here, because not a lot of people really enjoyed Watch Dogs, but I really enjoyed the game. And honestly, and I've mentioned this in a video before, this game unfortunately was the victim of overhype. And it doesn't really matter how good your game is. If you're a victim of overhype, the game is going to be hurt in some way. But even though this probably wasn't as good as a lot of people thought it was going to be, I still thought it was a pretty damn good game. What I really liked about the game was that they really did a great job at showing off how good the city of Chicago looks. The graphics were really, really good. And I know some people are complaining that, oh, it doesn't look as good as what they showed off in E3 2012. But, and a lot of people don't seem to bring this up, so I feel the need to mention this again. What they showed at E3 2012 was just a tech demo that they created just to announce the game. None of what they showed there was actually in the game. It's kind of like when Nintendo showed off that cool little Zelda tech demo for the Wii U, but there was never any plans for that to be the next Zelda game. It was the same exact situation. I feel like pointing that out because a lot of people weren't bringing that up. But even so, I don't see how the graphics in Watch Dogs were disappointing. A lot of people said it was disappointing. I still thought they looked tremendous. The water detail is excellent. The building details are excellent. The cars look really crisp. And the weather effects are really cool as well. And another real thing I thought was really cool about the game is the actual hacking. Now, the actual hacking in the game isn't really a challenge. Actually, I take that back. Some of the little puzzles in the game, they can be challenging, especially the timed ones. They can be frustrating as well. But a lot of times when I was playing the game, I was just walking around. I was just walking around, and I was just hacking random things. I was finding out information about just random pedestrians. I was hacking people's bank accounts. I was finding drop packages based on text conversations people were having. And I was unlocking MP3 songs. I was unlocking vehicles. It was just... when I first played the game, that's all I did for a while. It got kind of addicting. Now, unfortunately, you later find out that money in the game doesn't mean much, because once you buy everything, then money's pretty much useless. And you get a ton of it, too, especially if you pick the money perks in the skill tree. So, that's kind of unfortunate, because you would think in a game like this, you would need a lot of money, but it is what it is. As for the story of Watch Dogs, I thought the story was good. I don't think the story was amazing, but I still thought it was a pretty good story. And I do think the second act was probably way longer than it had to be. I probably would have cut out a few things, but I still thought it was a solid story. See, what I see Watch Dogs is, I see what looks like to be a building block for an amazing sequel. I hope Ubisoft takes this game, takes the things in this game that really don't need to be there. They take the things in this game that are really good and they expand upon that. And I hope to see a sequel to this game, because I thought this game was pretty good. And I would love to see a sequel to this game with improvements and maybe some cool additions. I think that would be really good. Like, first off, I would also improve the online mode, because the online in this game really wasn't that great. Especially when people figured out how to permanently avoid hacking. It just got really, really old, and multiplayer eventually became useless. So that's a shame. So I'd love to see a better multiplayer for this game. I see a lot of great things in the future for this franchise, and like I said, I hope Ubisoft makes Watch Dogs 2. And so yeah, it's a shame that this game had to be a victim of overhype, but hey, there's only so much you can do in this world, and I still thought this was a really good game. So I hope to see a sequel. The Last of Us Remastered, and I know I'm going to hear it already. I know I'm going to hear it. But Dan, this game came out in 2013. Why are you including it on a 2014 list? Well, I will tell you why I'm including it. I played it for a little bit in 2013, late 2013, and to be honest, I got really frustrated with the game because I didn't think the controls worked that well with the PS3 controller. Now, I know it's probably going to sound a little crazy to some of you, but it just frustrated me to no end, and I just got tired of playing it. But then I heard that they were bringing this on the PS4, and if you trade in the PS3 copy, you get it half off. And I like the PS4 controller a hell of a lot better than the PS3 controller. And my first thought was, well, if they improve the controls of the game, at least for me, then I will be motivated to actually want to finish this game that a lot of people call a masterpiece. So I booted it up on the PS4, and they fixed the controls. The controls worked great. I had no issues whatsoever, and yes, I finally played this game, and holy crap, this game's freaking awesome. I really love this game. The story is excellent, and I also think the story was actually evenly paced. I didn't think there were any parts that were drawn out. I don't think there were any parts that really needed to be cut. I thought the story was excellently paced, and my favorite thing in the story is the relationship between Ellie and Joel. What I really liked about their relationship, is that it was organic. It was a very long process that you see their relationship build. It's not like in the beginning they don't like each other, but then something happens midway and now they just all of a sudden love each other and care for each other. No, that's not what happened. You can see their relationship building very, very slowly, step by step throughout the story, to the point where that both of them really care for each other. And you don't see that a lot in games nowadays. You don't see an actual organic relationship between two video game characters happen. And I thought that was really cool. And I can now see why a lot of people love this game now that I've actually played the game. Now, if I had to pick a part in the story that... Actually, I'll take that back when I said earlier. If I had to pick a part in the story where maybe I think they could have shortened a little bit, is probably the snow part. Mostly because I hate snow. I actually really hate snow. And I don't think one of the snow sections was really needed. Or at least they could have shortened it a little bit. I think it was the part where you play as Ellie. I think they could have shortened that part a little bit. But that's just my opinion. It's a small gripe I have. But the graphics of the game are excellent. They look a lot better on the PS4. Not to say that on the PS3 they look bad, because they didn't. But they look a hell of a lot better on the PS4. A lot of times it is 60 frames per second on the PS4, and it's really cool to see. And what I also really loved about the game is that it's a challenge. If you play this game on Survivor mode, you are in for a challenge, and that was really, really cool. I really enjoy a great challenge in games. I enjoy challenging games that aren't filled with bullshit. Like a lot of the older Call of Duties on Veteran. They're challenging, but they're challenging in a way because it's cheap. There are very few instances in this game where it feels cheap. I think there was only one section in the game where I think was kind of cheap, and I think it would have been impossible to get through if I didn't have this item, and I'll actually talk about that section real quick. It's during a part where you have to fend off a horde while you're waiting for this door to open. And I'm sorry, and some of you may know what I'm talking about. If not, I will go into greater detail in the comments, because I don't want to spoil anything in case anybody hasn't played it yet. I don't like spoiling stuff. But anyway, I don't see how you can get past this one part without smoke bombs. I don't see how you could, because I tried every single thing I could think of, and I just couldn't get past this part. But once I used the smoke bombs, I did it in the first try. It made it insanely easy. But at the same time, I was lucky to have smoke bombs in my inventory. What if I didn't? What if I was crafting other stuff and I didn't craft that? I don't know if I would have gotten past that part, or it would have taken so much longer and it would have been more frustrating. See, that was really the only part in the game to me that felt kind of cheap. But most of the game, it's just using your brain, knowing when to fight, when not to fight, and so yeah, it's really refreshing to see a game like that, and I now see why people love this game so much. So, and of course, this game also has multiplayer, and I really like the multiplayer. What I really like about the multiplayer is that it's no nonsense. It's not a game you can play around with. You have to play seriously if you want to succeed at this multiplayer. It kind of reminds me a lot of Gears of War in that regard. And the only bad thing I can really say about the multiplayer, at least in my experience, is that unfortunately Naughty Dog has decided to put in some cheap weapons. And this was actually only recently. They put in this crossbow, which is basically a one-hit kill. And I hate one-hit kill weapons. Unless it's a headshot with a sniper, or if it's like a rocket launcher, I don't think a regular weapon should kill you in one hit. That's just me. And this thing seemingly kills you in one hit because you get hit with it, it takes away, it seems like 70% of your health, and then it bleeds you out to the point where most of the time you will die from the bleeding out unless you're healing yourself almost instantly. I think that's really cheap, and I don't know why they added that in. And there's another weapon too. It's this, I think it's a Frontier shotgun. Someone in the comments can correct me if they wish to, but it's this shotgun. And it's not your normal shotgun. It's this shotgun that has this insane range. Like, a shotgun should have a good medium range effect. And this thing will blow you away in 1 to 2 hits. From medium range. That's not what a shotgun is supposed to be. A shotgun is supposed to be in your face. And I've actually been killed by this more than the crossbow. So, yeah, I don't know why they had to add in these type of weapons. Especially when these weapons are part of a DLC package. So you have to pay money for these weapons. So in essence, it's the wrong way to use microtransactions because then it becomes a pay-to-win thing. And that's not the right way to do business, in my opinion. It is not best for business. But I have faith that Naughty Dog can probably patch those in the future. Because I really enjoy the multiplayer. I like the fact that it's challenging, it requires teamwork, and it's very satisfying when you get a lot of kills in this game. So, yeah, really good game. If you have not tried this yet, and you have a PS3 or PS4, definitely pick this up. It is definitely worthy of all the hype it has gotten. It really is. Here it is. My game of the year for 2014 is Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. And honestly, this got my game of the year by almost default. because it did two things. Number one, it blended two things that I really love: Assassin's Creed and Lord of the Rings. And what it also did was, it was a game that was on a lot of people's radar. Maybe not the most anticipated game that came out that year, but it was on a lot of people's radar, and when it came out, it wasn't killed by being overhyped, and it had no known technical issues, glitches, or bugs. At least that I know of. It was basically just a really good game, and that was it. There's no bullcrap DLC. Like I said, there's no technical issues with the game. It's just a really good, solid game. That is the end of it. And it's really refreshing to see a game like this, because you don't see a lot of games like this nowadays. Either the game gets hyped up too much, or it's got some known technical issues. And this game had none of those. And it was really refreshing to see. But there were some things in this game that I probably would have done a better job of. For example, the first thing that they could have done a lot better is the ending and the final boss. This game is heralded on its really good combat system, and the combat system in this game is really good. It is really satisfying when you're fighting off hordes of orcs and you're performing all these really cool different execution moves. And you can chain, and once you get all these different abilities, you can chain the executions and just mow through tons of people, and it's just really satisfying and a lot of fun. So you would think that a game that's heralded on its combat system, you would have a really cool final boss fight. But for some reason, this game, the final boss fight turned out to be really more of a cinematic, with you performing some actions rather than an actual legit fight. I wouldn't have done that. I kind of know why they did that, and I will explain that a little bit later, but I probably would have done something different. I mean, if you're not going to do a final boss fight that shows off all of the abilities that you've learned throughout the game, see, that I like final bosses that allows you and requires you to basically use almost all of the abilities you've learned throughout the game, all of the skills you've acquired. Like, for example, when you face off against Gruntilda and Banjo-Kazooie, you have to use almost all of the abilities you have learned up until that point. You have to know how to use them and when to use them. I love final bosses like that, and I think they could have done that here. If you're not going to go all out with it, at least have some type of fight. This didn't even have a fight. It was just basically, like I said, just a cutscene with you performing an action every now and then. And of course, there's a QTE. And this game has quite a bit of QTEs, but what I really like about this game and its utilization of QTEs is, if you fail a QTE, you don't insta-die, and you're not penalized, you just lose bonus points. And you also get a second shot at it. It's not one try, and if you fail, you're done. No, this game actually gives you second chances with the QTEs, and I really like that, because QTEs, in my opinion, can be pretty annoying if your game is spammed with them. And unfortunately, that's what happened with games like Resident Evil 6, where you were literally spammed with QTEs right and left, and it got really annoying. And the ending of this game, it wasn't a bad ending, and it does set up for a sequel, but it wasn't really a satisfying ending. Like, I didn't feel satisfaction. It felt more of like a cliffhanger ending in a way, at least to me. And they can be good at times, especially if you're going to make a sequel, but who knows if this game is getting a sequel. I would love to see this game get a sequel, but it's not guaranteed to get a sequel. We'll have to see how much money this game is made. And unfortunately, that's how the gaming industry is. If your game doesn't make the money that the publishers expect it to make, more than likely not isn't going to see a sequel. That's unfortunately the reality of the business. But yeah, this game was really excellent. I really liked it. Because a lot of times it felt like it was Assassin's Creed in the Lord of the Rings universe, and I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan, so I felt right at home. But it has a better combat system than Assassin's Creed. And so, yeah, if you haven't picked this up yet, even if you're not a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, see, that's another thing. You don't have to be a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings series to not be able to understand anything in this game. You could still enjoy this game and be a newcomer to the universe. And I like games that do that. I hate games that require you to know a lot about the series and the previous games, because it's not really welcoming to newcomers. Newcomers will have to play the previous games, and you know what? Not a lot of people have time to play every single game that's out there. So, I like games that don't require you to know everything about the universe for you to enjoy playing it. And if you love Assassin's Creed, you will definitely enjoy this game. And if you like Lord of the Rings, you will definitely enjoy this game. This is my favorite game of this year, and I hope to see a sequel. So, hope you enjoyed watching this, and let me know what your favorite games were for 2014. And I will see you all next time. Have a good one.